G'day, Chief. Welcome to the Inner Chief podcast and this special Minisode, one that I know for many of you will be very, very timely. This episode 365, is all about how to get focused on your core business and strategy. This is a bit of a plague around the world right now for leadership teams, and I'm going to talk to you today about why it's such a problem, some of the root causes, how to understand core business, what might be your core business and what isn't, some questions and a bit of a process for you to follow so you can start to cut out the noise and get back to core, and some additional questions around strategy. Chiefs, before I do that, I just wanted to share there is a resource we've got on our website. If you go to chiefmaker.com/focus, there is a full PDF download that goes with this episode. It's got all the advanced show notes, it's got the templates and exercises, and it's got bonus questions which we don't cover today. So you can check that out. Just go to chiefmaker.com/focus. So Chiefs, what are we really talking about here? What is going on in the world? So in my work across lots of organizations right now in multiple regions of the world, I'm seeing 5 major things impact boards and executive teams. And they are these sort of 5 bubbles that look, the first one is technology. In fact, technology, it's really made up of 4 bubbles, and each of those are big in their own right. Technology is artificial intelligence. What is it? How to deal with it? How do we get our people to use it? How do we make that leap into the unknown? Robotics. It's also cybersecurity, and it's data. So the size of the technology transformation going on is just incredible, and it's eating up a lot of other work within a business. The second bubble is around employee engagement and industrial relations changes. By that I mean the changing nature of the way employees want to engage with organisations. Some of the old truths are still there, but things are definitely changing. And it's really difficult for a lot of companies right now to maintain low levels of turnover and keep building high quality people. The second part is the industrial relations changes going in a whole range of different countries around the world. For many in particular, it is just incredibly difficult to remove someone from role. And certainly in our mini MBA program, we talk a lot about that difficulty. The third big bubble that is consuming the minds and the headspace of all the great chiefs right now is geopolitics and the economy. Half of which is pure noise, half of which is really, really important, from tariffs and exchange rates and interest rates. These are very, very important things that are going on right now. The fourth is this FOMO or urgency that's coming from a really competitive environment, this transform or feeling like we're going to die. So it's sort of consuming the brains of a lot of executives because they can see the rise of competition, and also very worried about a competitor coming in with a new technology that will just wipe them. And the last one is compliance and regulation. For many jurisdictions around the world now, there is just such an incredible burden of compliance, regulation, delays in approvals for even the most basic things. And it is driving a lot of companies just about batty as they try and deal with this. So what is sort of going on, if you think about this, is a world that is moving at incredible pace, but leaders being hamstrung by the need to bring people with them in a changing environment, compliance and regulation that's stifling their creativity and their ability to move, and uncertainty around what moves to make from a technological perspective. So, Chiefs, what we want to do in order to help us understand what moves to make is we like to just revert back to core business. And there's a little core business model I want to share with you. For those who are listening on the podcast, I encourage you to go to the download or jump onto YouTube or the show notes to see this little diagram. But essentially, if you imagine some concentric circles, and in the middle there's a middle circle and two larger circles outside of it. The middle part of the circle is what we call core business, right? Core business is the central activity of your organization to deliver a service or product to your ideal customer, right? This is what your business is really alive for, how it gets oxygen, how it gets cash, how it delivers or earns the funding that it gets. Your organization must have a competitive advantage in this. That's what you have core business. Your business has the structure and systems of the business are designed to deliver this efficiently. You have expertise and deep knowledge of customer when you're in core business. Core business means you have timely and accurate data to make decisions and track risk. Core business means you have secure revenue or customer acquisition process. And core business means you can manage risk better than your peers. When you're doing core business, it's profitable, it's high impact, and it's focused. Non-core is expensive, hard, risky, clunky, and draining. So when we stick to core, life is generally pretty good. But what happens in this world we operate in, and executive teams, and they do the same thing over and over and over again for years, they might get a bit bored. They want to expand their horizons, and I understand that, but they sometimes expand it in the wrong way and they dilute their impact. So they go to dilution. If they go too far, they go to distraction. And so the way to think about this, Chiefs, is what we first want to do, the number one move above all is better at core. Stick to core. The stuff you're great at, you're good at, you've got the structure, the system to deliver efficiently. You're better to grow more market share doing that than be diluted or distracted by other activity. A lot of the best organizations in the world get a little bit boring. They do the same stuff, they just do it insanely well. Become more and more passionate about core. Now, every now and then, or when an organization really does or has nailed its particular brief in a particular core part of the market, they need to expand or pivot, or maybe the market is hitting an inflection point and they really need to change the way they operate. In which case, what we want to do is use this model to sort of guide us through what is the next step. Because whatever move we make, we want to make sure we don't sacrifice too many of these things I've listed, right? We don't want to enter something we have no competitive advantage in, or one that we can't create quickly by leveraging what we already do. We want to enter or expand or improve our operations in a way that improves or recreates competitive advantage, that allows us to quickly improve the structure and systems of the business to help us deliver our products efficiently. That we can build immediate expertise and deep knowledge of customer, where we can get that timely and accurate data to make decisions, that where we have good secure revenue or customer acquisition, or we can manage risk better than our peers. So Chiefs, this is the little core business model we use at Chiefmaker. I use this all the time when I'm taking away boards and executive teams, and it resonates a lot because when we get them to write down, hey, what's core for us, what's dilution, what's distraction, it really does quite quickly highlight to them where they're wasting energy. Because the cost of leaders spending time on non-core, right, is very, very expensive. Now, the hard thing is that a lot of the costs from working on non-core are often realized months or years down the track. You make an investment or you're trying to implement a computer system, you don't see the results for a long period of time. So it's sort of hard to attribute this back to the fact that you moved away from core business. So, but the cost of leaders spending time on non-core means risk grows, creativity can disappear because they're overwhelmed by this clunky, difficult thing that is sucking the life out of the business. It also means incorrect prioritization, wasted effort, wasted capital. Customer relationships suffer. Business and personal reputation suffer. Track record goes down the toilet. Culture cops a hit. We lose energy and brain power. So, Chiefs, what I am proposing to you is that when you are in a senior role, your job, when you think about the system of the business, a living, breathing system with people, policy, process, product, all of this together, when you look at that system from a helicopter perspective, your job is to make that system hum. It's got to work really, really sharply and efficiently. And do all the pieces, are they congruent? And is there no bottlenecks? Or when you look from a helicopter perspective and you look down on your business and you ask yourself, why, oh why, are we doing this little thing over here that is sucking so much of our energy and life? I was only talking to a CEO maybe 3 weeks ago, and he shared to me he'd been involved in a potential acquisition of his business, selling the business. He said this has been drawn out for a long period of time, over a year. And he has been, for that period, out of the business for nearly 3 days a week. And the business has suffered as a result. Right, now, I'm not saying he didn't need to go through that process, right? That was an important process. But the cost to the rest of the business was enormous. Even in his own admission, he knows he could have done that potentially a slightly better way. So, Chief, how might you, on your own or with your fellow executives, optimize your team's focus? Get back to strategic focus. There is a template in the PDF download. Go to chiefmaker.com/focus, or you can see it online in the YouTube or the show notes. So, Chief, what we want to do is ask ourselves, first and foremost, the first little category around strategic focus is customers. They could be internal or external. And you ask yourself, hey, what is the 20% that is our highest value customers? These are the ones that give you probably most of your profit or benefit or impact, right, if you're a non-for-profit business. And what is the 20% that are low or, in fact, probably negative value? Most companies have a group of low-performing customers that actually cost them money to service and are reducing the profit margin. If you cut them, right, you would actually grow in profit. So think about that in a lot of depth. Think about your customers, because cutting that low 20% will increase your focus on your top 20%. Look at your strategic relationships. Make a bit of a map of your strategic relationships, stakeholders, suppliers, and business partners, and ask yourself which ones are the highest value, which ones are the lowest or negative value. Right, now we go to strategic priorities. Your strategic priorities and your work to build competitive advantage in the market. This is core business, products, services, barriers to entry, capabilities of your business. What are the 20% of the activities you're doing now to build this, right, that add the highest value, and what is the 20% that is the lowest value? Then we go to operations and service delivery. This is the forms, policies, processes, approvals, your ability to serve your clients or deliver the services or build product, right? 20% that's highest value, 20% that's low or negative value. And then team culture, communication and learning. This is the rituals, awards, courses, meetings, cultural work you do. What's the stuff that's high value, and what are you doing that's low or negative value? What I recommend you do is, if you do this as a bit of a team, print this template out off the website now, off the resources page, get each person to complete this little template on their own, and then share that around the group, and just see if there's alignment. Chief, this would be a fruitful conversation for an executive team to have. Now, Chief, I said at the very beginning, there's a few bonus questions around strategy. And right, these bonus questions are for strategic focus. And here's a couple. I want you to store them away in your little memory bank or your utility belt so that when you're working in this role or the next, you have some questions that will help the business get back to core. So the first question is, hey, what is truly core to our business? If we stripped everything back, what would we fight to keep? If we stripped everything back, what would we fight to keep? Question 2. What is diluting our focus and resources? And the question that goes with this is, what is a distraction disguised as a priority? What is a distraction disguised as a priority? And then the last question, third question is, what would our customers beg us to accelerate? And what would they tell us to drop immediately? What would our best customers beg us to accelerate? And what would they tell us to just drop immediately? So Chiefs, this is all about strategic focus. This is the core role of executives, to create this focus in a business. Remember, what we're trying to achieve is that when an individual comes to work in our business, they are in flow, in focus, and they are not overwhelmed, chained to their desk answering emails all day. That is not our job. If that is going on in your business, then Chief, you need to get on top of it. Stop waiting for someone else to do it and start taking some bold action. The website address, if you want that download, is chiefmaker.com/focus. If you want any of our other resources, we have some unbelievably valuable resources and frameworks and templates. They're all free, Chief. Go to chiefmaker.com/resources. Right, Chief, that sums it up for this week. As always, remember to stay epic.